Oh yeah, Mr. Whalen, 3A. We're in here. Wait for it. Beat drop. At the end of every unit, your teacher has the chance to teach a lesson about other lessons and their context to enhance. But what do you suppose our teacher has us do? He skips the lesson and makes us present a digital LEQ. Elocution needs historical evidence, reasoning that can corroborate and advance a complex thesis that Dr. John P. Irish would admire. Then we drop the screencast like a single that is fire. Student created screencast for you to like, subscribe, and share. We know you've had all the John Green and Steve Heimer you can bear. Grr. If we have the most views by 10 p.m. Eastern on the fifth day, the fifth day, we earn 500 bonus points, which virtually guarantees an A. Our GPA is going up. Without much more fanfare or ado. See you later. We present our digital LEQ. And that's on period.
Hello, I'm Sydney.
I'm Rain.
I'm Chrisla.
And I'm Juan.
And the following screencast will be about the Columbian Exchange. For context, when mentioning the New World, we are talking about the Americas, seen here and here. When mentioning the Old World, we are talking about Europe and Africa, seen here and here.
So, what was the Columbian Exchange? To put it simply, the Columbian Exchange was the exchange of culture, ideas, livestock, crops, people, and diseases between the Old and New World, between Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Americas. It began and ended in 1492 when a man named Christopher Columbus and his crew arrived in the Caribbean, where he is known to have discovered the New World. He brought with him seeds, plants, livestock, which started what we now know as the Columbian Exchange. This now leads us to question how the Americas were before Columbus's arrival. Well, there was barely any kind of diversity among people or culture. Certain plants, livestock were found in specific locations. For example, the natives had domesticated llamas, alpacas, dogs, and turkeys before Columbus's arrival. Corn, potatoes, and various beans were also native to the Americas before Columbus's arrival. There was fewer diseases in the New World before the Columbian Exchange. The natives really only suffered from arthritis, tuberculosis, and syphilis. And lastly, the natives' populations were being dramatically disrupted.
Now that all is said and done, what were the Americas like after the Columbian Exchange? So after the Columbian Exchange, many new things were introduced, including different crops and animals such as sugar, bananas, and horses. The Columbian Exchange also impacted the population size. It decreased it through the exchange of diseases such as smallpox that killed over half of the native population, but it also increased it with all the new crops that were introduced and grown. Because of the Columbian Exchange, many slaves were brought to the New World due to a labor shortage. And lastly, it had an effect on many cultures through the different foods that were introduced.
This was an excerpt published by a writer named James Carroll Moore who lived during this time period. In the POV of James Moore, this account was written for the people of his time as an informative message as to what was happening during the Columbian Exchange.
So what's the big idea? How do you think our world would be like if Christopher Columbus never discovered the New World?
We encourage you to pause the video here. Major shifts in the New World began to take place as the Columbian Exchange began to leave its mark on the Americas, which leads us to question, how did the Columbian Exchange affect the Americas? We encourage you to pause the video now and ponder this question. Well, in the time period 1450 to 1750, the Columbian Exchange benefited the Americas by introducing new goods and services that changed the way they live and work. However, the Old World had influenced the New World so much to the point where their influence caused detrimental effects. Therefore, the Columbian Exchange did more harm than good to the Americas. Because of the Europeans' arrival to the Americas, death became very widespread because of three main things: disease, war, and starvation. With disease, historians estimate 50 to 90% of natives dying as a result of several diseases, such as syphilis and smallpox. With war, Aztec and Incan leaders began to die off from diseases, leading to conflicts. In the case of Incan leader Huayna Capac, a violent succession struggle occurred between his two eldest sons following Capac's death to smallpox. And with starvation, not enough living people were there to grow crops for the living. To address our counter argument, we would like you to think about this question. What do the new crops and new animals brought to the Americas mean when several populations of naive Native American tribes are dead? We encourage you to pause the video here.
So this is our AP World History Theme Analysis. Theme 1 deals with humans and the environment. This connects to the Columbian Exchange because it affected the growth and change of the population, as it brought over slaves and new crops that would increase the population, while also bringing diseases that significantly decreased the population. Theme 4, which deals with economic systems, connects with the Columbian Exchange because, as we know, many things were traded, so it offered profitable trade for many Europeans, which in turn contributed to mercantilism. But an example would be the many crops that were traded, which allowed the agricultural production to increase. Theme 5, which is social interactions and organizations, deals with the Columbian Exchange because it had an impact on many different cultures because of the different foods it introduced, making them a staple in certain cultures.
Let's review. The Columbian Exchange has had a pivotal impact on the New World. It is often connotated with its positive attributes of integrating plants, animals, culture, and technology. However, our thesis statement sheds light on the negative attributes the Columbian Exchange had. Our thesis statement states, in the time period of 1450 to 1750, the Columbian Exchange benefited the Americas by introducing new goods and services that changed the way they live and work. However, the Old World had influenced the New World so much to the point where their influence was detrimental. Therefore, the Columbian Exchange did more harm than good. The arrival of new settlers provoked various attributes. However, it did pose a threat to the Native Americans that previously resided there, such as the start of enslavement, war, and outbreak of disease. So what's the big idea? How do you think our world would be like if Christopher Columbus never discovered the New World?
We encourage you to pause the video here. Here's our bibliography, all the sources that we use for this screencast. Thanks for watching.